Hey guys, it's Connor from Fisher Mac, and today we're going to be talking about bass lures. We're out here in Ireland's beautiful sunny southeast, and as you can see, conditions are fairly choppy, but we're going to go try catch some bass anyways. We're at Kilmichael Point, which is an absolutely stunning part of the southeast of Ireland. It's on the east coast, just south of Arklow. And guys, it's magnificent out here. I mean, the wildlife is incredible. We've seen seals, we've seen birds. I wouldn't even be surprised if maybe we saw the odd whale. Maybe not today. As you can see, it's a bit windy and a bit rough out there, but it is absolutely stunning. Beautiful beaches, beautiful rocks. So I'm going to be running through the lures that I've got set up, or the lures that I would use when I'm going bass fishing. There's obviously so many ways you can fish for bass, but I'm just going to be running through the ways that I like to fish for bass. This is going to be lures only. I know a lot of guys do a lot of bass bait fishing and beach casting, but we're going to stick to lures, as this is a lure fishing YouTube channel. So I keep watching the tide, I need to stop. So let's get into it. Let's start off with the first lure. So first of all, we're going to be talking about Weedless Shadlers. Weedless Shadlers are great. A personal favorite of mine would be the Savage Gear Sand Eel V2. It's 15 gram here. It's quite a small profile, but it's absolutely brilliant. This is what the bass are feeding on, guys. Obviously, that weedless profile is brilliant because when you're fishing out here and there's rocks and there's seaweed and all sorts of things, you need a weedless profile. It's very slender, it's very slim, and you're not going to get caught up. It's great for shallow reefs. It's also great for pollock. You can kind of swing it deeper for pollock if you wanted, but I think as a bass lure, these are great. When you know that the bass are feeding on sand eel, you want to be throwing something around like this. The next sort of shad that I have is a bit of a smaller one. The schoolies love this one. And this is just a mackerel imitation. You can also get, like, obviously small mullet imitations and things like that. I forget the name of this one. It's quite a generic brand, but you will get a lot of these around and they will all catch bass, I personally believe. Obviously, there are better companies that make better lures, such as Savage Gear and Weston. But you know, you will catch bass on these as well. Just generic little, like, weedless offset hook things. They're great as well. Next up, guys, I'm going to be talking about metals. Now, metals are by far, in my opinion, the coolest way, or at least the most effective way to catch bass. In front of me here, I've got the Savage Gear Surfseeker. This is an absolutely fabulous lure. Savage Gear have gone above and beyond, and the great Henry Gilby helped design this lure, and it's absolutely brilliant. Look, you're going to cost this an absolute mile, and that's the beauty of them. The pack itself will come with a treble and a single hook. It's paired up with the treble hook initially, but I like to change out for the single. I do feel like there's a better hookup way with a single hook, and it also helps obviously with snags and stuff like that. You can get this in many different colors, and as I said, it costs a mile. Often people will think, you know, this is a 30 gram lure. You do get them in different weights. I think 18 gram is the lightest, and you'd think, oh, 30 grams, that's going to sink really quickly, but Savage Gear has designed it in such a great way that it isn't sinking too fast at all. It's a very slow sinker, despite being quite a heavy lure, and you can bring that back through the surf, along the rocks and things like that, and it's a great seeking lure. You know, you're looking for those bass, you haven't found them yet, you don't know where the bait is, chuck this out and you can cover water tremendously. The next lure I always carry in my box is the Hto Pathfinder Sand Eel. This is basically just a smaller version of the Surfseeker, the Savage Gear Surfseeker. 18 gram, it's a lovely little thing. It's a much smaller presentation, and that's what I personally really like about this lure. You know, if the bass are a bit finicky, if they're not really hitting anything larger, this is great. It almost perfectly imitates the sort of sand eel you'd find along the southeast of Ireland. You know, just in terms of size, there are obviously bigger sand eel, but when it's really small bait, just kind of going around, these are absolutely fabulous lures. Everything I just said about the Surfseeker, pretty much the same. Doesn't go as far, obviously, but still an absolutely wonderful bait. As I've said in previous videos when talking about pike and things like that, you cannot beat topwater fishing. Topwater fishing is, in my opinion, the most fun way to catch fish. Bass are renowned topwater strikers, and they will go for anything, any sort of small shad, any sort of small bait on the top. I personally love the DEX Strider in a 9 centimeter. It's an absolutely killer bass lure, and I do catch many pike on it as well. You know, Savage Gear, Weston also both make really good topwater lures. But that being said, the DX is my favorite. It just costs really far. It's a lovely little lure. The trebles on it are great. I know some people will swap out these trebles for singles. It's something sometimes I'll do, but with topwater, the accuracy of the fish, I do find that a treble can often help, especially because we know bass love to hit the back of a bait more. So you could even just switch that middle treble out for a single. keep that back treble as it is. But yeah, absolutely phenomenal. Casting these out is great. Obviously, when it's really windy, you're not going to be casting these out. You'll be casting into nothing. But when conditions are right and the water is nice and flat and nice and clear, you can rarely go wrong with a topwater bait, especially if you can see birds hitting, if you can see bass hitting. There's a go-to there. Guys, if you want to know where I get my stuff, please check out the link down below, wildhunter.ie. I get all of my tackle and lures from that website. They've got absolutely great stuff and some superb deals. All right, guys, so this brings us to our last lure. It is the last on the list, but it is certainly not the least. This is the Savage Gear Gravity Stick, and these are bass killers. I honestly think it's the best way to catch bass. It is my favorite way to catch bass without a doubt. It's so subtle, it's so streamlined. There's so much I could say about these lures, but they're absolutely phenomenal. They come in three sort of variations. You got one with a pintail, one with a paddle tail, and one with a sort of power paddle tail, which gives a little bit more of a kick. Obviously, you'd use different ones in terms of the conditions that you're fishing, but God, guys, these are just phenomenal lures. I have the Gravity Stick box kit, so it comes with a load of offset hooks, weedless offset hooks, weighted and non-weighted for different conditions, obviously. You will not snag these. I've lost none of them actually, which is the craziest thing about them. They're designed so brilliantly that you can bring these over the shallowest of reef and you will not snag, you will not lose these. It's very, very hard to lose these. In terms of catching bass, look, you can go out and look on the internet yourself. These will just, they're bass killers. They're the greatest lures, I think, in my opinion. The kit itself comes with little glass rattles that you can insert inside the baits, as well as some heavy leads that can also be inserted inside the baits. There's not much else I need to say about them. The ones with the paddle tails are great when you're casting. You can just straight retrieve. It's easy fishing. You straight retrieve over a good reef, and you know, if there's any bass sitting around there, they're gonna go for it. The presentation, the body, there's not much else I need to say. They're perfect lures for bass. Savage Gear did a great job with these. All right, guys, so now that we've tackled the business end, let's move on to some necessary things that you're gonna need when you're bass fishing. First and foremost, you will need waders if you're doing any kind of surf fishing. You don't necessarily need them from the rocks, but I love to wear them anyways. I just feel like I'm not gonna get absolutely drenched if a freak wave comes out of nowhere, and they're really, really helpful. Obviously, just completely waterproof. You can get cheaper pairs, some, you know, going up to €100, and then on the other end of the spectrum, you can get some extremely expensive pairs. I think anything mid-range is absolutely fine. They're very warm and they're very great. They're handy when you've got some really heavy wind and you just want to, you know, keep yourself warm. So yeah, you'll definitely need a pair of those. Now, when we're talking about rods and reels, it's very important when you're bass fishing to have, I think, quite a stiff rod. In front of me here, I've got the Weston Kayak W4. Now, look, it's a 7-foot rod, 210 centimeters. A lot of bass anglers would say you need a longer rod, and that's absolutely fine. I would agree to some degree, but personally, the Kayak is lovely. It's such a stiff rod, and I think that when I'm fishing from the rocks, and I'm casting out far, I'm gonna need a really stiff rod. I don't want anything too bendy, anything too flexy, and I found that this is really reliable when I'm catching fish, so I absolutely love to stick to this. I've got this paired up with a Savage Gear SGS 8 size 4000. Again, maybe a little bit big for some light rock fishing, but do you know what? I like to catch my bass. I don't want to mess around too much. You know, I'm not here to maybe have a good scrap with bass. They are great scrappers, but I want to bring them in and I want to, you know, I actually want to catch a fish. But there's definitely something to be said about lighter fishing. Don't get me wrong. We just did an ultralight pike fishing session, so I know all about that. I've got that paired up with a lighter braid, about 20 to 30 pound will do, 30 pound being quite heavy on the, you know, on that sort of end. But yeah, any nice sort of 20 to 30 pound braid will do. And then I've got that paired with a 20 pound fluorocarbon leader. I fish with a very long leader, not too long. I'd like to keep between 60 to 90 centimeters, depending on, obviously I have a shorter rod, so I'll be using a shorter leader, just preference, but I think that a long leader is important. You don't want those bass scaring too easily. All right, guys, so that's gonna do it for us today before we go and try catch some bass. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have any tips or tricks or anything that you think that I missed out, please feel free to leave that in the comment section below. Obviously, any advice or any ideas we absolutely love. Please don't forget to check out Wild Hunter if you want any great equipment. They've got a great selection of things to get, so definitely go check them out. The link will be in the description below. Please make sure to subscribe, and if you haven't already, hit that bell notification button. I know that a lot of you guys aren't getting those notifications, so please make sure you check that out. Let's go catch a fish. Fuck. How did that look? Do you want to get me sitting in the water?